saying, I was just telling Dano that he and I were having this off-air, you know, discussion, and a lot of what we are saying needs to be heard by people. And I was saying that, I may not be, just because I started this website, and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm some kind of person who thinks I have the personality or the clout to get lots of people, to do anything. And we were talking about a grassroots movement is something that happens on a broad scale without any one particular person leading it. It's sort of a paradigm shift. Yeah, and what were you saying, Dano?
Yeah, and either people will. It's going to take two things to be. I got three fingers up. Two things to be successful. One is for people to initially join, but that's not enough. The second is to then actually participate, to actually do something. But in order for this to succeed, it needs to be regular people, not big giant names out there. Large
Right,
numbers of regular people
right,
who are willing to take that 5 minutes and whether it's leave a voicemail message. I've done at the state level a lot of this sort of thing in my state because we were the last to get concealed carry here in Illinois, as far as calling my legislatures. And it may seem like, well, that doesn't really do anything, but it does, because they actually take samples of how many people called that day, pro and con to whatever the issue is at hand. So there's lots of ways of sending that message clear, other than traditional voting and traditional marches, that are all good things to do. It just, there are things you can do between elections and between demonstrations.
Well, and that's what happens in a grassroots movement when you have a lot of people involved. A few people do something every day to make it sort of a consistent effort. Instead of having a large number of people do something on one day, when you have a grassroots movement, it seems to be an ongoing effort, and just that nudging every day, chipping off a little piece, and keep on, one step every day, marching, one step on and on. You know, that's what that's what creates the paradigm shift. It's not um, it's not this great leader. And what we were talking about off the air was I have had people send me PMs asking me, well, why haven't you contacted Hickok, or why haven't you asked James Yeager, or why haven't you asked Nothing Fancy to? I'm like, well, that would be great if they would get involved, but it's not a grassroots movement. A movement is not caused by one person. It's caused uh, by current events that a mass number of people are dissatisfied with, and they all tend to start gravitating towards a cause. Just like the Tea Party. Now, a lot of people are going to say, "Oh, the Tea Party was, blah blah blah," but you can't deny that it was a grassroots movement that happened, um, you know, simultaneously across the country. Tea Party groups sprang up overnight all across the country. You know, and it was amazing. Yeah, and that's what's going to have to happen with changes to gun laws. You because there are so many people that the forces that we are up against even those in our own industry. There are people in our own industry. There are gun lovers who would love to see things remain the way they are, because they have invested in the way things are, either mentally or physically or financially or
Right. Or they
whatever.
or they have the parts that they want, and what they want is not being possibly banned, so they're fine with everything the way it is.
Right. Or they have said, hey, and it's great. You know, I love capitalism. I promote it, and I love it. Okay, I'm a free market guy. If nobody knows that by now, they're dummies. Okay, but um, you know, take the sliding stocks or arm braces. You know, those things can still be sold, even if, and that would be the true test. I challenge the creator of the arm brace or the sliding stock to help us eliminate SBR rules or tax stamps on automatic firearms. That
Hmm.
would be the true test of their product. If people are truly buying their products because they need an arm brace, then they will have no problem supporting us trying to eliminate the rules on SBR,
And
regulations on, you know,
and talking about that brace just for a moment, I view that as, first of all, a positive thing. Like you said, it's capitalism. It's obviously creating jobs and things like that. But it's a short-term Band-Aid, which is good. We need Band-Aids, but we don't have a long-term fix. And that's what we're trying to do. Get beyond the short-term Band-Aids and get to a long-term fix.
what I'm trying to get beyond is this reactionary thing where we have been conditioned to accept gun laws. In other words, instead of those people being true, okay, I'm not going to say true patriots. I'm going to say instead of those people, those inventive people who had resources, instead of them inventing the arm brace, why did they not go out and help uh, just repeal that gun law? Repeal that regulation. What what was it that they said? What was it inside them that said, "I can create an industry around this law"? You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
it's hard for me because I'm a capitalist. I own my own business, and I love capitalism. I love free markets, and I wish those people all the luck in the world. But I still can't get over the fact that we accept these laws and work and just create little tacky solutions to them instead of, nobody,
Well, they're temporary solutions to a long-term problem,
yeah.
and I have no problem with that whatsoever.
They're not, the problem is they're not necessarily temporary. They can become permanent if we become so entrenched in the idea that we're just accepting. You see, if people say, "Oh, well, it's like a mousetrap," let's say now I can create a better arm brace, and there's a war to
Hmm.
create the best arm brace. Well, we spend the rest of our lives trying to create the best arm brace instead of repealing the law that created the arm
Hmm.
brace in the first place. This is the mentality that we're up against.
Do you remember
You
the
know?
movie The Matrix?
Yeah.
Because a lot of what you're saying is kind of like that. If people are only accustomed to one thing, how can we realistically expect them to know what's real when they have a different reality that's all they've ever known? And that's exactly what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, we are creating our own um, matrix. We're creating our own reality. We're accepting the reality that politicians have now. See, that's the thing. It may not just be that's the evil part of this. It may
Hmm.
not just be politicians. It may be those people. And I've always said this. You can go back to videos I made in 2006 or 2007 that said there are there are liberal gun lovers that conspire against us. So, in other words, you have people who love firearms, but who also are all have the mindset that certain laws are good. And so what you end up with are people who you think are supporters, firearm supporters, but really what they are liberals who will accept a certain amount of laws, um, but just enough to make them feel better about society. But you know what I mean. That there's I'm not sure I'm explaining myself, but you know what I mean. There's lots
I
of
think I follow you.
Yeah, there's lots of gun lovers out there. They're not all conservatives. That's the
Mhm.
point I'm trying
Right.
to
Well,
make. You
yeah.
know,
One example is sometimes people call them blue dog Democrats.
right,
And that's a term basically for those of you out there who might be listening to describe somebody who might politically have a D next to their name, but maybe very pro Second Amendment, as well as a lot of other things that we normally associate with either independents or Republicans or even libertarians. So it's just that where they live, in order to get elected, they have to declare that they're a Democrat. Otherwise, they never even get an office.
By the way, I did put a link on repealgunlaws.com for the hangout, so I'll leave it there until we get too many people. It doesn't look like at this point we'll get too many people, but if you want to be in the hangout with us, with Dano and I, go to repealgunlaws.com and the link is there. The first article you'll see, let me refresh my page there, make sure it's the first one. But if you want to join us in the panel, I put the link there. We started a little bit early because Dano got me kind of fired up about some issues, and I was like, oh, we can't just talk about this off the air. We're gonna, you know, but I
But
don't
you know,
know.
another again, I'm trying to re-explain something that you've already talked about, and that's sometimes it's called normalcy bias. And that's where people, if all they've ever known is one thing, an example, someone who lives in sub-Saharan Africa, and they've lived there all their life, that is normal for them, whatever goes on down there. I've never been there, but whatever goes on there is normal. Now, you pick up that person and take them on a plane and plant them in the middle of Kansas. Uh, they're they're going to look at it as if their world has just collapsed, when in fact they've just landed in one of the greatest countries in the world. They don't realize it because all they know is what came before. They know nothing about where they're at
Right.
and the wonderful things that can entail. Not necessarily Kansas specifically, but having access to first world medical care, as an example, not having to worry about somebody coming in and robbing you or murdering somebody in the village, not having to worry about, can you feed your children tonight? I mean, we have the richest poor people there are on the planet. I mean,
That's true.
I work several days of work with the homeless in a city nearby. And whenever someone mentions to me, one of the homeless, about being poor and that sort of thing, I ask them, are you talking about African poor or are you talking about American poor? Because we're talking
Right.
about two different things. African poor don't drive around in cars
Right.
or have access to first-rate medical care.
Well, it's interesting because I helped start back in, I guess it was 1987, a group. I was lucky to be a part of the group that started Habitat for Humanity in Chattanooga. We started the chapter here. And I was the interim construction coordinator and volunteer coordinator. And I would go, my job was to get volunteers during the week to come out on the weekends to build homes. You've heard of Habitat for
Yep.
Humanity. So the
They
local
do.
chapter here, and I went down for a week to Americus, Georgia, and met Millard Fuller, and the guy who's treated almost like he was at the time like a cult leader. and
Mm-hmm.
and we were initiated into the fold and all that, and before that I was involved with a group called, this was when I was in my 20s, so I thought I was going to save the world through construction, carpentry, and all that. I felt like, oh, Jesus was a carpenter, so I should go save the world too.
Right.
And so I was involved with a group at Inner City Ministries. We had a program called Adopt a Block. We would have volunteers come out and work on people's homes, in mostly elderly, on the weekends. And I did this for 4 or 5 years, and finally I came to the same conclusion that our poor people live a lot better than most of the people our homeless people live a lot of people better than other people in the world, you know, because there's so many services. And I'm not making light of their situation. Me and the boys, we do things. We'll put together bug out bags and stuff. We'll put together bags of stuff, and we'll go out, seek out and search home. And I've started to video stuff, and I thought, you know what? No, that's kind of petty to video it, but I may start doing it. But anyway, I try to teach them the same sort of spirit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
But even our homeless people have so many services available to them. You know, our community food kitchen, our Salvation Army, the homeless coalitions. Even the homeless people are better off than,
right,
like you say.
And I only bring up that African poor thing that I mentioned earlier when I start to hear them complain, and in my head it's like they don't realize, although they are homeless, how lucky they are to be where they are and be homeless at the same time.
Yeah. Why do people think that there are people risking their lives to cross the desert to get through our southern border? You know, these people die. Some of them die on their way to our country for a better opportunity. You know.
Yep. Absolutely.
Being homeless here is better than being homeless there, and I'm not laughing at them. You know, I've shared.
You okay?
Yeah, I was just thinking about, you know, the times I've shared with them, you know, and worked with them, and you know, they're they're coming from places that are rough as hell, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so anyway, I don't know how we translate this stuff to people. You know, it's very difficult to.
But as I mentioned, and I think it was just off air, but if it was on air, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself, but I believe that this effort that you and I are talking about will either succeed or fail as a test upon the people that are hearing our message. It'll be a test of them, and it'll either succeed because of those people that are listening, or it'll fail because of those people that are listening. Either this message resonates or it doesn't, and I hear a lot of complaints, so I would think it would resonate, but the true test will be in the coming weeks and months.
And I challenge the people. You know, we've got 84 members just on our little website, and you know, I challenge people to come forward and put their 2 cents worth in. You know, I'm trying to inspire people by just nudging them and, you know, having these giveaways and all of this stuff, but it's not gonna matter, you know, unless we actually accomplish something.
Exactly.
And you know, I don't know how you get across. It's almost like the conditioning that we have experienced is so inbred. There's GQ Prepper. Maybe he can offer some words of wisdom. The conditioning that we have accepted, you know, we have been. I don't know if the propaganda has been so successful. I don't want to go so far as to say brainwashing, but maybe it is. You know, has it been so successful that we just accept the level of laws that we have? You know, how else can you explain it? I don't know how else. What do you think, GQ Prepper?
I don't have an answer for that one yet.
Hopefully we'll figure it out through this process.
You know, I think I said last week, my guess is that all of us that are up and walking around right now don't know a different lifestyle. We've always lived under those laws, you know. I wasn't born in the 30s. So
no, but we've all had the desire, just like me, when I bought my PPS 43C, and I looked at it and I said, why is the stock welded so I can't open it? I mean, I knew why, but
Right.
it was almost like an awakening. I was like, is it really that bad that I can't open this stock? But people can buy a silly plastic one that claims it's an arm brace, and they can have one, but I can't. What is going on? What it baffles me. You know.
Well, again, I've just, like I said, it's just my best guess. It just has to do with what we grew up with. Take in contrast the Clinton era gun bans. Even though that was something that was allowed to sunset. That I feel like people seem to have been more active with that because that was something that was taken away from them. They might have felt was taken away from them. Whereas, the things we're talking about right now, we've really never had unrestricted access to those things.
So we were talking a little bit earlier before you got here. Was it GQ or GQ Prepper? Or
That's fine.
How do you want me to address you?
Everybody calls me GQ.
Okay. As far as using the Matrix as an example of trying to unplug people from this normalcy bias that they have, that it's always been this way, so there must have been a good reason, so it should always be this way, continuing looking forward. Is how do we break that thinking or unplug them from the machine using Matrix example to see that just because it's always been this way doesn't mean it has to stay this way. Because from my perspective, I'm looking at getting membership to grow. Because unless it grows, we can push as hard as we want, but we need a slight push of many people rather than a great push of a few people.
Right, and that's why I think having my view on larger YouTubers. I mean, I think it's great. I would love for somebody to come and say, I'll help you with your effort. But the people who would follow them would just be following them. It wouldn't be the grassroots. Those people wouldn't feel in their hearts that maybe they would after a certain amount of time, or maybe, you know what I mean? But is that what you want? Do you want Elvis to bring his hordes and you know what I mean? Do you want a star to bring their hordes, and then those people not really have this philosophical understanding of what we're trying to do? Maybe say yeah, well, you can convert them.
Well, Tony, I don't know if goes along the same way, but we've kind of experienced that already. We've seen a big YouTuber and what he can draw, right?
Mm-hmm. That's my point. Yeah.
And yes, good or bad, a lot of those people were just there to go see him.
Right. And that's kind of what I'm thinking is that, and that's what Dano and I were talking about earlier, was that I was trying, and the only example I could think of was the Tea Party. Now some people hate the Tea Party, but you can't deny that in 2010 or just shortly before that there was almost like an instantaneous nationwide sort of uprising of that group of people, and there was never, to this day, you cannot say this person is leading the Tea Party. Who is it?
Nobody.
It was a grassroots effort, and every person involved, it was a total paradigm shift for that group of people, and that's the way it needs to be. That's the way it's going to have to be successful. Not, Jesus himself would have to come down. I think it would be. I don't think it would. And if I'm wrong, I'll accept. I'll say I'm sorry. If Hickok or James Yeager or Nothing Fancy or somebody wants to take up the mantle, but that would be great. I'd love that. But I'll sign over. I'll give them the admin rights right now to the website or whatever they want to do. This is not an ego thing,
Yeah. it's an issue thing, not a individual thing.
Right.
You know, I don't care who it is that heads up the effort, as long as we're moving forward. That's all that matters to me. And by the way, we are now live on Gun Channels, just so you guys are aware of that. I got them to do a redirect over there.
That'd be cool. I sent G-Webs a link. It'd be cool. Him and Kyle Flagermouse, maybe they could join us.
Yeah, what coincidence. I got all this G-Webs junk in the mail today.
Hey, that's Glocktober.
Yeah, I'll add it to my Artist and Tony stuff. Oh, wait, I don't have any.
Oh, you're pulling my leg. You know what? I was suckered into sending all my patches to Eric. So he could sell them with his man cans or whatever they are.
But yeah, I mean, it's you talk about the Tea Party. You could also argue that maybe they haven't done as well without the focal points.
Well, that's true, but think about it locally, though. I mean, I don't know.
There's something.
The problem with having a national leader is that if you don't have just that right person, the whole movement can be brought down. Look at Sarah Palin. Look at how earnest and her message and how pure it was and how conservative it was. But look how she was brought down by attacks, and her sort of movement was brought down by the media.
Yeah. Well, but sometimes it's not the message; it's the messenger.
Right, which is kind of what the point I was trying to make with Sarah Palin.
I mean, her message was fine, but the messenger was not so great in delivering that message.
No, but her heart was in the right place, and I still think it is.
But we don't elect people for. We have millions of people with good hearts, I believe. But they don't necessarily make the greatest leaders.
That's true. I hate to admit it.
I mean, but you can be a great leader and have a good heart.
Yeah, they just don't always go together, I guess.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's a rare combination.
And that's what we were talking about earlier at GQ. It was that I was saying I had gotten all these PMs from people. Why haven't you done it? Why haven't you contacted Hickok? And, I was thinking, well, is it really? I don't know.
Well, it's good. We know some of these individuals better than most, and I think you and I also realize how realistically who and who wouldn't, as far as who's got the time, who would be willing to put their name out there like that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and that's the problem. I'm kind of willing to, if this fails,
we ain't got nothing to lose.
Yeah, I'm kind of willing to say, okay, whatever, but I don't mind trying,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not afraid to try,
I think for some of the people that are doing this for reasons other than it's their passion are the ones who have conflicts between should I join something or should I not because it might interfere with my brand.
Yeah, the branding is a big issue.
It is. It's huge.
Yeah.
And
I go ahead and say that's the reason.
Yeah. Well, Hickok has said in his videos, we don't do political videos. We don't. Right. He says unless there's something of great national value that I feel needs my voice immediately, you're not going to hear it on this channel. So. I mean, anyway.
And I like Hickok, and so I can't criticize him. But the other side of that is, are you going to go through the rest of your life just getting different guns handed to you and shooting them at your little cowboy targets? And are you really going to be satisfied with that? Maybe you are. Maybe you are going to be satisfied with 1 million subscribers and making money. And what's your legacy going to be?
Well, that's kind of the thing is a lot of people are satisfied, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, people are saying, "Are you crazy?" Yeah, I'd be satisfied with that.
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
a lot of people are satisfied. I'm not, you know.
I just had a, well, and of course this would require a long story, but I just ran into this today. You know, I was trying to trade my truck for a four-door, and the guy was asking me how much money I made, and I said, well, that's kind of a hard answer. It's kind of hard to answer that because, you know, I pay myself as little as I can. And the guy was looking at me like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" And I said, "Well, it's not my priority, you know. You know what I mean? You come to a certain point in your life where it's not necessarily your priority. Money doesn't have to be your priority." And people will say, "Well, that's a cop out. You can't handle success, or you don't want to be successful." And no, I've come to that point in my life, and I'm past it, you know. And besides that, I don't want to pay, you know, I want to pay as few dollars in taxes as I have to.
mhm.
And so, you know, why if you reach a certain point where if you're paying 50% of your salary to the government, what's the point, you know? So, and I don't know how I got off on this subject, but I think it has to do with your intentions in life. You know, if that's your only intention to make money, then that's fine. Like I said earlier, I'm a capitalist. I love the free market, you know, but I'm at a point in my life where it's not the priority, you know.
Well, Tony, here's something else I was thinking about. You know, even though you may not find someone like a big YouTuber to take the lead of the charge, I believe that enough of us have enough contacts where we could get a lot of the larger YouTubers to throw some attention our way.
Right, right.
Yeah. You know, getting shout-outs is an example. Even if they decide not to necessarily formally join our group, but give us a shout-out. You know, give the website name, and when we generally, if we're going to establish, you know, as an example, Saturday evenings at 9 Eastern is our get-together time, then throw that out there too. Just a quick, you know, 10-second blip.
Well, it's not like I don't have any experience with this, okay? And I'll just, at the risk of risking my little cricket fundraiser, I'll just go ahead and share with you that people will only go so far to help you with anything. And don't ask me why. Is it because they don't want to share success, or they don't want you, you know, they're very competitive, or, you know, and let me just be honest with you. Let me just be frank. Screw it. No, I'm just going to be honest. I'm tired of BS. I'm tired of the BS, okay? I have spent more money trying to raise money than, and at some point in my life, I'm just going to say, screw it. I'm just going to take my money that I've been spending to raise money and give it to people instead of wasting it trying to raise more money. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, I know it.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, that makes complete sense to me.
I have asked these large YouTubers, and I'm getting ready to screw myself forever, to help me make videos, promote stuff, and very few of them will. Okay, and I'm talking about for nonprofit causes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm talking about to raise money for a good cause. Okay, so what makes you think they're going to spend time to promote something that's not necessarily seen as a good cause, and that's very political? And that's my answer to those people who keep freaking sending me PMs asking me why I don't do it, and that's why. That's the God's honest truth. So let's let the crap hit the fan, so to speak.
Well, you know, I understand, Tony, but there are, I think, plenty out there that would still be willing to do something. Yeah, I know the people you're not going to get. We know the people you're not going to get. But I think there's a few out there that are big enough.
Why would you think they would do this when they wouldn't make a simple video to promote helping veterans um, with a fundraiser?
Those that wouldn't do that, I don't think they would. I'm saying that there's others that will.
Yeah.
Well, there's a guy just today that put out a video in support of SEAL team members that have run into some difficulties. Now, I don't know him well enough to mention his name or whether that's the way he really is in regards to supporting veterans or not, but there are people out there that do that. Also, the Wounded Warrior Project, another thing that, but sometimes I wonder if that's promoting their channel as far as the aspect of patriotism, or whether it's really for the vets.
And I'm just going to go ahead and get myself in trouble even deeper, okay?
Don't say names. Get yourself in trouble.
I'm not going to say names, okay? I'm just going to tell you that if you're not, is an alumni a bad word? If you're not an alumni, some people will not help you either. So,
I don't think that's. I don't think that's the case.
okay, well, then that's good to know.
Again, we're talking about. I know, but we're talking about individuals that are, they're honestly, we're all busy. They're very busy too, and they will. It's not always easy, but they will. And that one in particular, if he feels strong enough about it, he will. I know he will.
Well, that's your homework.
Yeah. Okay. I only meant that as an example. There are many other people out there in.
That's your fault, Dano. You brought it up.
Okay.
The crap's gonna hit the fan, and I'm gonna take it. But that's
I will drive to his house if I have to.
Well, I have a feeling I'm not getting an invitation to the Christmas party this year.
But if you think about other YouTubers that have put out, whether it be Wounded Warrior early on, or the Marine, I forget what the name of the one is for the Marine parents, something. Sorry, can't remember exactly what it is. But when they found out that Wounded Warrior was not very pro Second Amendment, do you remember that issue?
Yeah, I remember because
about a year ago.
Yeah, when we were going to actually donate money from the cricket fundraiser to Wounded Warriors until that happened the first year.
Right.
Yeah. So.
But whether it's channels that supported them before all the hoopla, or channels that supported other pro-vet organizations afterwards, those are the channels I think that might be fertile ground for giving us a public service announcement. Just a 10-second.
What's funny about that whole hoopla was that, I mean, the Wounded Warriors survived all that, and they seem to be a pretty good organization.
Mm-hmm.
Still to this day. So, I
don't think there was an effort to take them down. It's just that if I have a choice between giving it to them or giving it to a different organization that also helps vets, that is not anti-gun, I'll give it to the other organization.
Yeah. And I think MarineParents.com has proved themselves as to me, worthy, organization. I mean, to think that the first year we sent like 200 care packages overseas with the money that we raised was pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking about.
Yeah. And I have said every year, I have asked the big YouTubers who please give suggestions on who to support. Nobody ever comes forward. Not one person has ever come to me and said, I would do this instead of this.
Mm-hmm.
And, you see what I mean? It's just, and it's fine. But,
Well, I wonder if, as far as, I'm going to call it a PSA for lack of a better way of calling it, but as far as requesting PSAs, I'm wondering out loud here if we need to contact those people directly and at least get either a no, a yes, or a non-answer. And a non-answer
I
is
think we need to
simply
have a
no.
plan before we contact them, because
Oh, yes.
one of the attributes of a person who's successful is that they want to know why, when, where. It's
Yep.
we should have a plan. We should say, this is what we want to do, and we need your help. If we just call them up and say, we need your help, and they say, why, you're like, because
Right.
we're nice people.
And that's where, coming, it's...
Or, what I mean? And so we need a simple plan, and, something that's very direct and can be achieved.
And I agree. And I think even though there's only 3 of us here tonight, if we had a simple framework of which, this is what we're looking for, this is why we're looking for it, any supports you could throw would be greatly appreciated. Here's the website to look at it a little bit to see who's already involved with it, that you may know and i.e. have some trust in. And this is the sort of thing that we'd like you to throw out at maybe the tail end of a video. Just a quick 5-second blip. And we would literally send this to, so that the people I send it to get the same message, Tony, as you throw it to your people, and GQ, you would send it to your people. They would all get that same message. I don't want to say a form letter, but something kind of like that, so at least they're all getting the same message. That's what I'll call approved by the group.
Right.
But it's just a thought. I'm open to anything that will get this thing off the ground.
What do we, one thing I think that would be seemingly easy to me would be to target, laws that are just punitive, that have nothing to do with safety at all. You know what I mean? And we've mentioned them. It's just that some people seem to think these are insurmountable. Well, you'll never accomplish that. You'll never be able to repeal that, or you'll never be able to chip away at this. We just need a simple goal. I understand that we're not going to be able to repeal the NFA, as a whole, but we certainly can find parts of it that are just, it's like the IRS targeting conservatives. There are certain parts of the NFA that are just targeting us as firearm owners and lovers, like 922R. And so there are some people who can justify the SBR rules as some sort of safety, or I don't know how. I know how, but you know what I mean.
You're right. We have to have some sort of worm on the hook to get people to say, okay, this is going to be our first target before we send those. Again, I'll say form letters for lack of a better word. Before we send those out, we need to have some stated, this is our first goal. Our first goal is X, whatever that is.
Can we come up with one? It's funny because there are, take silencers, for example, and I'm using the term silencer because it's the NFA term, because I get messages saying, are you talking about suppressors? We're so, part of the problem in the gun community is that we're so stuck on specifications and terminology that we can't get past that to just say, okay, whatever it is, this device that we're screwing onto the end of our rifle that makes it more silent, whatever it's called, let's try to get the regulations on that, deregulated, get the tax stamp eliminated. Maybe that's a simple goal, or maybe it's 922R, or maybe it's SBR, whatever it is. I think we need to. I need to go back and read the NFA again, the whole thing. But
Yeah.
um,
Well, let me ask you.
what's
Do
that?
you?
What was
What I
that?
was
Go ahead, Dana.
I was just going to ask, as far as what I'm going to call step one, and granted, things can be done simultaneously, but because our group is pretty small at this point, do we want to focus on membership growth and then get the group to bite into the concept of the goal that's collectively chosen, or do we want to do both of those things simultaneously? And if so, how?
Well, I guess it would. If you had a goal that was attractive, who doesn't want to own a silencer? If you had a goal that people would buy into, it seems like that would help.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, what are they joining? What are they buying into? I don't know.
I guess I see the point that initially, we or you or whatever need to pick something.
Yeah.
And the low-hanging fruit, and if we decide the suppressor is it, then go with that. But you're right, we do have to have something to start with.
And it's silly that we have to, we have to worry about terminology so much because, no matter what we do, there will be people that want to pick on the wording of our goal instead of understanding the philosophy behind it. But that's just something we're going to face,
Well, here's another thought. The old adage, if you know you can't get one, ask for two, right? Right. Why don't just choose three things out of the NFA? Go after, say, hey, you're going to hit the suppressors, SBR laws, and fully auto laws.
Yeah.
And say we're going to go after these three, and maybe get one.
No, I agree, and that's kind of what I was thinking originally. We'd have a trifecta, and if someone didn't care about, suppressors or silencers, mufflers, whatever you want to call them, maybe they had an affection for, wanting their SBR to be legal, or have a tax stamp to own it.
And I'll throw it out there. I have no special interest in any of them. The cans, the SBRs. I mean, it'd be nice, but I'm happy with what I've got. My thing is, and I've said this before, is that that just builds a bigger buffer between us and the anti-gun people. For every gun law I get off the books, that's more they got to work on getting back.
Right.
So that's why I'm for it. That's why I'm in it. But of course, I understand you're going to have something concrete. You have something tangible that's going to lure somebody.
Well, and for me, it's a philosophical thing. The fact that just take 922R for example, that was specifically targeting firearm lovers. That was, and it was also an attack at the free market. It was an attack at capitalism, free market, and firearm lovers. They had their own little trifecta going on there, because saying you had to have 10 American parts on an imported rifle has nothing to do with safety at all. It was specifically targeting us as firearm lovers, those people, who happen to think that the Russians make the best rifles, the best AKs, that, you know what I mean? And that didn't even go that far. It just went as far as just to target people who loved firearms that were made by anybody in the world, not just Americans. We don't make everything the best. I'm a patriot. I feel like I'm a patriot, but I do realize that certain people in the world make better things than I do, or I can. And I'm not prejudiced to the point where I think that I should make laws limiting American citizens to being able to purchase those items. You see, and so that's a punitive. It's a direct violation of the free market to even cast the thought that you should say only, firearms have to have this number of parts made by this particular person or country. You see?
Well, even if you are buying into the concept that it's saving American jobs or something like that, there's no other product that we purchase that follows those same guidelines. So that that just it's another one of those things that shows that the law is ridiculous. Everything else I buy is straight from China. Everything was made, painted, packaged in China. It didn't have to come over here and have parts changed out before I could buy it.
Yeah, that's a video I made the other day. I said, why don't we make Apple have to place an American appendage onto the iPhone?
Yeah, and
before
it's
sold. A little American flag has to be sticking out of the top of it before you can sell it.
And then what's funny is that Steve Jobs sat right in front of Obama before he died and said, "This stuff will never come over here." That was his words to the president, but yet, we can do it with firearms easily.
Right.
And you'll see that a lot of things. It's like, it's firearms. I guess it's just an easy. You talk about low-hanging fruit. They can kill two birds with one stone, like the sanctions on Russia. When they started banning a lot of imported Russian stuff, there's still tons of Russian stuff we're getting over here.
Yeah.
It's just they can go after the guns easily, and most of them are anti-gun anyway.
Let me challenge any one person in the world to come to me and say that there are enough individual Americans buying AKs that would actually put a dent in Russia's economy. You know what I mean? I mean that was strictly a shot at American firearm lovers. Americans who love firearms. That there is no effect measurable on telling Americans they can't import AKs from Russia. There's no measurable. It was a direct shot at us, American firearm lovers.
It was one thing that that president has powers to regulate, and that's what he wants to do anyway. So that's what he went after.
Well, it seems whether he has the power or not, he seems to go towards regulation.
Yeah, and that's why he's has like a 30% approval rating right now too.
Is that high?
Yeah.
But
I'm trying to be nice, okay?
Being that there's no re-election in his future, I think he's now I don't mean to get too far off the subject, but he's now going for broke as far as what he can do, whether Congress likes it or not, whether it's part of his separation of powers or not. But that's another topic for a different chat.
Well, that's why we've said many times that these next 2-4 years, this is going to be the best opportunity to take on a quest like this. That's because of that political environment. What it's going to be the next 2 to 4 years. It's like now or never if you want to make an attempt to get these laws out the books.
Right, and the way I'm looking at it is that if we're not able to make any impact in the next couple of years, then you can truly almost question whether we've reached the brink of being able to make a change or not.
And I hate to agree with you, but I have to, because just like World War II vets are dying off, and we're having these living testaments to history are no longer available except for what they've left behind in either writings or audio messages and so forth, that people left in the next 5-10 years, who's going to be left that can actually remember, oh yeah, in 1965 I was able to buy a gun and it arrived at my doorstep.
Right.
That you mean you used to be able to get a gun at your house?
Well, and I guess I understand. Yeah, I guess I understand that, and GQ's brought this up before. But when I was in high school, guys, we had gun racks in our trucks, and we had rifles hanging on them. You
Hmm.
know, so I guess if there is at a certain point there is a generation, um, but at some point that we have to recognize that, and my generation has to try to turn it around. I feel responsible now to bring that message to people. Hey, we used to
Yes.
have freedom in this country.
That yeah. Not
When I was
only
a
was it
kid,
normal, not
yeah,
only was it normal, people didn't get hurt because of it.
yeah, it wasn't just because we were a bunch of hillbillies in Tennessee running around with guns. It was just we
Yeah.
felt we felt free, and we didn't know we were free people, and we didn't know it at the time.
Right.
It was just part of our life, part of our culture.
It's
Yeah.
the
You know,
people cause violence, not inanimate objects. And to get that concept through most people is difficult, if not impossible. And I hate to
yeah.
say that, but that's been my personal experience.
Somewhere in storage, I still have the gun rack that I made in shop in high school.
And I mentioned that, I can't believe that, or no, I can believe it because I did it, but no one would believe it today that as captain of a rifle team for 4 years in high school, we would walk down the halls with 22 rifles, of course, in a rifle bag, but we would walk the halls of Memphis public schools. We'd go in through the front doors, walk down the halls with rifles, and no one panicked, no one cared, no one even batted an eye.
Right.
It's not something you would hear about today.
Hmm. I need to hear about it.
Well,
They'd
yeah,
be locking down the school. It'd be on national news. That's funny. Hmm.
yeah. I mean, I don't know. My thing is that maybe if we can't get existing people to get on board, then it's not going to get any better. Because I will say the brainwashing, they are hitting our children hard, and that's where they're getting us. So if we can't get this generation to get on board, next generation is definitely not going to have anything. Because
Mm-mm.
they're not going to expect or want anything. They're going to be totally trained into thinking that guns are something they should not touch or have any interest in.
It's a tough thing to fight, um, that that culture, because I've seen it in my own kids. You know, uh, at some point in their lives, it was fun. They thought it was a sort of a novelty to go to the range with me. But even now, it's getting harder. As they become more exposed to the social issues. With school and their friends, and they start realizing that the when they went to the range with me when they were young, it was kind of like I said, like a novelty. But now they're starting to understand society and, and social issues, you know, and or they're being exposed to them. And it's competition. It's competitive.
Well, do you think, I have kids as well, and that part of that is competing with other, as they get older, they have more interests that can get deeper involved in other things, and then you're really competing for access to their time, trying to do, whether it be father-son things or stuff like that,
Right.
that, whether it's their education or other hobbies they're interested in, that's all taking parts of their time.
And that's a good point. And let me just tell people before I forget, that's an excellent point, and that is why you really have to be involved with them from at least age 7 through their teens. Because
Yeah.
when the teenage years hit, you almost lose control of their thinking.
Yeah.
So
Well, you,
if you don't get involved with them with firearms between the ages of even 6 and 12, then you've lost a battle. You're fighting a losing battle at that point.
Well, I think
Yeah.
you've lost an opportunity. I don't necessarily think you've lost a war. You've just lost one individual battle, because that's where again, getting back to my analogies. I love analogies, but of
Yeah.
fertile soil. That's where
Yeah.
the soil is most fertile. And
Yeah.
if you lose that opportunity, the soil is less fertile, but it's still there. It's just now you have to compete with their other interests, and they want to go bowling with their friends, or they want to go to the movies with their friends, or just other stuff.
Well, I've heard people say to me, "Well, I'll do it when they get a little older." Well, you're you're making a mistake. You
Yeah.
know, that's when they get older. They start to become more independent, which is what you want. Your job as a parent is to make them become independent adults. And have their own interests. So now I have two musicians as sons. you know, who who have very little interest in firearms. I mean, they still love them, but it's not something like, not, it's not the same. It's hard to explain, if you don't have kids. So I feel like
Well,
I feel like I've led us off the subject, but
it's okay. I was going to bring us back. I was thinking, when he was asking what should we focus on, getting people to pull in, to getting someone larger to help pull us in, or build on our own. And I think those two things may feed on each other. If we're able to grow on our own, that may give some of the bigger people more incentive to take part.
that's true. And I guess, having the philosophy that a grassroots movement catches fire, it either catches fire on its own or it doesn't at all. That I've kind of sat back and hopefully tried to watch it, hopefully catch fire, but maybe there's a little more work involved than that.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm thinking, since this is an actual meeting and not a entertainment show here, I was thinking, I'm going to put that kit up on auction, and I was thinking one way to direct more traffic is if you would think it'd be okay if we hold an auction on the site.
no, I actually have software for that. You know how I've had the auction for the crickets.
Right.
I can put that same component, that same software on.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking. Could we
Yeah.
do that and direct more traffic towards the site?
What I was hoping to do too is it's kind of a coincidence that you two are here, and I've already made Dano an author. Is that I can make you the same and give you sort of the permissions to allow you to help maintain, that kind of stuff if you want to.
Okay.
Or if at least give you the rights to if you want to, because I don't want this to be, a Tony, a totalitarian thing. It needs to be, we need to have people. If people are willing to help and want to help, they need to be given the tools to do it with, So, but yeah, and I didn't know if because I think part of the thing is getting content, steady content on the website, because people when they come to it, if it's always sort of static, it doesn't seem to be very attractive, and that's why I was trying to get Dana to write some articles.
Yeah, I've got some in mind. It's just
even you too, GQ. I mean,
I know I do. I've got some in mind. It's just it goes. Let me put it this way: all those people that I said that I know they're busy, or that they'll say they're busy, they don't know what busy is. So if I could manage to do something, I know most people could.
I just preached to Barrett about this a month ago, and Lord, did he take it. The most satisfying things is when you kind of get on your soapbox a little bit with your kids and they respond to it. I heard that I don't have time thing from, and I said, you know what? There are more hours in a day than you even think of using, you know. And he got on the stick, and I've been amazed lately. And and it's the same thing with all of us, How many hours do we spend, And I'm not preaching, okay? The successful people in life understand how many. I'll just say this: they understand how many hours in the day there are and how many they can use. You know, that's one of the traits of a successful person. They don't say, I don't. You'll never hear a successful person say, I don't have time to do this. You won't. Unless it's something that's not, unless it's something that gets in the way of their goal, or, you know what I mean? Does that register with anybody?
Mm-hmm.
So.
So at this point, and I'm not trying to conclude anything, what might be our next step, and in what direction should it be? I mean, because I always hate to end these things like in a nebulous sort of confusing. We don't know where we're going.
I guess the reason I have tried to shy away from is because I don't want it to seem like me or one person are creating a goal. But I don't care if three of us just come up with even if it's a tentative goal. Maybe that's how we provide leadership.
But we've got the platform.
Yeah.
We've got the platform. Let's, when we get people on there, let's have them state when they join, or if they're already members, what is exactly you want. What would you like to see go? I mean, that would, again, you're talking about grassroots effort and everybody being part of this. And I haven't seen this yet. Let's make people speak up, be specific on exactly what they'd like to see.
In addition to that, for existing members, we have the ability to do polls. And so when we have ideas, whether it's the three of us or additional people join us or willing to come on air, we put together, okay, here's 3 different things from the NFA, and then put that to the group as a poll and say, here's 3 ideas, and of course include a 4th for other, or maybe they can type in an idea.
Well, I'm glad. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but before I forget, I have been looking into poll software. And the reason I'm saying software is because most people understand that for the particular content management system that we are using, they're called components. I can buy a component that, because there are no free. Apparently, the components that do polls are very valuable in the marketplace because most of the components I get for the website are free, except for the social media aspect of it that you see. That one was around $100 that I spent to get it. But the poll, to have a poll, it's going to cost probably $30 or $40 for the component. And the reason I call this a business meeting is because we have raised about $80, through our efforts. And so what I want to do is remain transparent and open, and any money that's raised, we'll sort of at our business meetings, our board meetings, we'll decide how that money is going to be spent.
And I want to go ahead and put in on there. That was one of the things I was thinking about, and I wanted to ask is what is our ability on polling, because I think that's going to be a valuable tool to us.
One thing I can do too is I can post on the website the different options for polling, and I can put links, and then because I realize that's a pretty big and valuable component, and I think that's why they're hard to find for free. There's a lot of commercial
A short-term workaround, which doesn't work well, but it does kind of get us at least some indication, is by post an example. I'll use the example of the 3 items again. And if you put that in the comments, and we say, if this is something you agree with and would be willing to send an email or make a phone call, whatever we're asking for, click the like button, and we will count the number of likes over
Right,
over the total number of members, and that'll tell us out of.
That's a workaround, but if you have the actual polling component, it will act as a module and stay. You see how like latest articles or events or the advertising stays in one spot.
Right.
That component, you can assign it a location that it will maintain its position. If we do a post, it will scroll down. As we add posts, it will go down to the bottom, and so it doesn't remain current.
Well,
so,
I had sent you an email about if the software had the ability to create what's sometimes called a sticky, and that just means a post that always stays on top.
No, I found sticky, but that's a static thing. In other words, when you see those stickies, it's usually a message or you know what I mean?
Okay, it can't be something with a thumbs down or a thumbs up sort of thing.
Right. So what we really need is a polling component.
Yeah.
We need software for the website and I don't mind buying it myself if people.
Well, but I always like the idea of if we can do it for less, save the money for when we really need it.
Yeah. Well, and I don't mind. I've spent my own money so far, so I don't mind spending my own money for that if it's just $30 or $40, just to show you that it's probably a valuable thing to have, because we're always going to need some kind of polling component. Do you think this action was good or bad that we performed last week, or
Right.
And it's going to be one of those things that we can use for feedback. Because the more members that we have, imagine if we had 1,000 members and we had comments.
Right.
All those comments are consolidated into a poll, yes or no. We're not scrolling down 2 or 3 screens to see, the results. So, and I think that's why the polling components cost what they do, because they're valuable and they have a value. So I'll probably just go ahead and do that, but that's why I'm having these, because I want to get feedback on how the money. I'm not going to decide solely how the money is spent, especially when you have efforts like GQ, where he's putting a lot of work into like his thing, where he's going to auction off, the survival kit, and possibly have what are you, $50 to $100 or something?
I'm gonna start it at below my cost. I haven't decided. I was thinking 200. I may even go below that, but the MSRP on that thing right now is looking up around $500 for that kit.
No, I meant like the profits off of it, not the actual value of it.
Well, I'm not gonna make any I'm gonna lose money on it. No doubt. I'm gonna get enough money, hopefully, that I can ship it. Really, that's what I'm planning on. Get enough money to where, because you have to do special shipping on those because of the components. They can't fly on air. So basically, I'm just looking to pay for shipping.
Speaking of what I'll start to call initial costs. Tony, how is Patreon looking?
We have $7 a month
so far.
Yeah.
Okay.
Committed.
I didn't expect.
The reason we have about 80 is because we had 2 donors in the very beginning. One donated 50 and the other donated 20, and so that was 70. And I was just kind of rounding it off to 80. Because we had $7 in the Patreon.
Right.
But,
well, let me throw another workaround out there that might get, because I view there's a difference between having members and members that are truly committed. Is, again, temporarily before we take the step of getting the polling, and I'm not fighting the polling stuff. I think that's a great idea. It's just I'm trying to be conservative in spending the money, and like you paying for shipping, that hopefully should come out of the fund, rather than your own pocket.
No, this is me donating to the to
Okay.
the group.
But as an example, if you put a poll up there, and instead of a traditional poll, you say, and send your response here, and give an email address. If it's a mail to link. So they can either click on it, and if they run a POP3 browser, mail browser, it comes right up.
Yeah.
And if they use it.
Those are all. That's a good idea. It's just that the polling component is such a proven,
Right.
and it's so effective. It's instant results, and it doesn't rely on some person accumulating results and posting them. And I think that's why they're able to sell them.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of something that if we had a question of our membership now, we could do that literally, within 24 hours or whatever would be reasonable. You could put that out there to make it happen.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have to wait to get the software, figure out how to plug it in, and then debug it if there's any debugging involved.
I've been working with this content management system for 10 years, so there won't be any debugging. I put the website together in 2 days, so there won't be any debugging. I wasn't brave enough to do what GWebs did and that was to try to build from scratch. That's what I think they did. I think that's why he had some debugging too. I actually bought the social media software for the website, so that was had been used for years, and all the debugging's already been done on it. So I would do the same thing with the polling component, and find one that was proven, that had reviews and all that. So
I'd like to see that, and like I said, that we use that as a tool to start out to get more involvement and more input from members to help stir us in the direction that is going to be the most likely to get support.
Right. So if we want to come up with, even if it is a workaround, we still need the questions or the data, for the polling. I'm getting ready to get my pen here. Do you think we should just go ahead and ask people if we should do a sort of a trifold effort or stick with one? I think the problem with trying to do one is then you have to decide which one it is when it seems like you could hit. If it's not like we're trying to strike the entire NFA, because I had people, you wouldn't believe how many people, probably 10 emails saying, well, if you get rid of the NFA, people are going to be making grenades, and I'm like, okay, whatever.
No, I think we should, pick 3 or so. Really, there's only 3 that I think most people are going to care about on the NFA. But yeah, I think that's one of the things we should do. I mean, it's like the increase in minimum wage. Do you think those people really expect they're going to get $16 an hour? No, they're just asking for that in hopes that they're going to get 11, 12.
Right. So I guess if we were going to vote, let's do it. There's 3 of us here. I would say 922R, SBR, and
is 922R part of the NFA?
Yeah.
It's not part of the Act.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I'm gonna have to school myself.
18 paragraph blah blah blah. It's 922R.
Was it an addendum to the NFA later on? Yeah, I mean that wasn't introduced in 1934, 32, whatever it was.
It is Title 18 of U.S. Code, Chapter 44, Section 922R. Well,
I'll look it up. That's fine. It actually helps if it is.
It doesn't say NFA, does it?
I didn't think it was.
I thought Title 18 was part of the NFA.
It may be. I'll have to. Tony, that's one I haven't.
But this may be just a learning.
Yeah.
That's good. If I learn something,
I haven't looked that one up myself.
Yeah. Just saying. That's my vote. What do you all vote?
I'm wondering if we should just, and I'm not trying to delay the effort, but just table this until next week so we can do a little bit of research and to determine what's the low-hanging fruit. Because that's what I vote for, whatever's the low-hanging fruit.
Okay.
Whatever people's going to go after the most.
Yeah,
That's why I'd like to see input from all members.
Okay. So maybe what my goal will be to do is go ahead and get some sort of polling thing up so that we can actually decide what to ask about. And people who are listening to this, hopefully, what I'd like to do is try to get people to at least watch this hangout. Maybe we should start limiting it to a certain amount of time so that people will be more likely to watch it after the fact. But because I know if it's 2 hours long, people are going to say, "Oh man."
Probably, I don't know. Is a weekend the best day to do it as well? Do you think?
Well, can't you usually run them? Can't you usually run them for various periods of time?
Do you think I should go back to Monday nights, or?
I'm asking you. I really don't know. This isn't my.
I guess I was being a little bit selfish because I don't have to worry about my voice. I don't have to worry about making noise on Saturday nights because Alex is, the during the week thing was giving me a problem. Because they were telling me to be quiet, and I feel like if I don't start late enough, the people on the West Coast can't be involved.
Well, those people on the West Coast can't have anything anyway.
I mean, just my own 2 cents is the people that are willing to put in enough effort to actually show up are the people that ought to determine what time it shows.
Yeah.
And that's us. I mean, now, if we get a 4th or 5th person in here, subject to change.
Right. So I just thought, is Saturday nights okay for now? Or?
I mean, it is with me.
It is with me.
I'm flexible.
Yeah. I'm just limited to, current health situations here at the house.
Right, and I appreciate you coming. I understand what you're going through. Well, I don't understand it. I can't say that, but I understand that you have that going on. But I do appreciate you guys stepping up.
But at least that gives us focus that, okay, this week, what did we accomplish? We're going for the polling software.
Right.
And we have something, okay, this is where we're going right now. And what's that going to lead us to? Getting questions to the membership to drive us in the direction they want to go. Because if they don't want to go there, they're not going to support us with their time, their money, and their efforts. And
hopefully we'll make people feel more involved. Even if they can just click, I believe this or that,
Yes.
At least hopefully they'll have a vote, which is what I'm trying to do with the polling software. At least you will be able to get more votes in, it's an easy thing. If you can't click yes or no or this or that, then you really don't have any time for anything. So.
Exactly, and that's why I had mentioned email. I mean.
I've even had, that's seems to be a difficult thing because I've run a lot of giveaways and just asking people to email seems to be difficult.
Did you get my hard copy letter yet?
Did you mail it to the post office box?
Yeah.
I'm going to check the mail tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was trying to give it a few days and try to collect them all at once. So, no, not tomorrow, Monday. I'm sorry, tomorrow's Sunday. I'm losing track of the days. So I was going to go to the post office on Monday and check them at the P.O. box. So, okay, so I feel like we've accomplished something.
Yeah. And also, I think your point for the membership as well as other people who are not members, trying to keep this as a more structured chat, like you said, whether it be 1 hour or whatever. I have no problem being on longer, but to keep people who are committed to watching. I mean, or as well as telling them, if you just want to skip to the conclusions, look to the last 10 minutes of this video, and we'll summarize what we've concluded.
I don't mind, us deciding what our summary is and just putting it in the description of the video. So. Which would be easy. for people to read.
Yeah. It just
So,
I wonder if we don't get feedback on how many people are seeing the message that way. Where if they have to click, view, at least I can tell after a number of views how many people at least clicked did that.
well, they're gonna, yeah, you don't get feedback from how many people click to go to a certain point in the video, though.
Well, you can look at your in your viewing stats. You can look on a per video basis to tell the audience retention.
Oh, you're saying that someone can see the comments without actually
Yeah.
clicking view? Yeah.
No. Yeah. Well, once they click play to play the video, even just looking at views, at least you know that they watched the first minute or two. And if you
Right.
want to know more, you can go into your audience retention to find out what was the average length that people watched to. I mean, that's putting more effort into it than it's worth right now. But at least,
I
at
was
least
gonna say,
the
dang,
number,
I
the
got
number of views at least tells us something. I mean, is our membership? If we only have 10 views and we have 70 members, our members aren't watching.
right. Well, I mean, in the interest of just trying to disseminate information, I'm not. If I feel like I've done everything I can do to get the information out, then that's important. Even if I post a summary on the website,
That's true because you do get stats off of that.
yeah. So what our summary basically is that we've decided to go ahead and purchase the polling component.
And you let me know if we're going to be able to do if we can do the auction on the site.
No, we're going to do that. We don't have to
Okay.
decide that. We're going to,
Well, I didn't know if you
because I already have that software.
you said you have it, but I didn't know if you were going to have time or the ability to implement it, or when you would have that.
No, it's simple, and I can also show you how to, if you want to look at it and maintain it too, or whatever.
Okay.
Going to auction. GQ. Survival. That'll be good because that'll drive certain people. That's the thing. If we have activities like that, hopefully it'll drive traffic to the site, and the polling information will be right there on the front page. So, and it'll stay on the front page as long as we keep it a component, not like a comment type thing.
Do we want to formalize that we're going to keep this to an hour, or attempt to?
We'll have
I
to
can vote on that.
We'll have an attempt.
Yeah, attempt is as good as it gets.
Keep to an hour. And some people will say, well, I'm only going to watch 10 minutes anyway. So,
Yeah, well,
but we'll try to. The goal will be to try to have. It's kind of funny. I was being kind of funny by calling this a board meeting, but I really was thinking that I would have minutes, and we would have goals. We would have past business and future business, and operate it like a board meeting.
We can get there.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, and normally in a board meeting you have somebody keeping the time.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Baby steps. It's all baby steps.
Right. So, okay. You guys are great. That's all I gotta say. Because it seems like there's always a few people that kind of step up and help out. Not criticizing others who don't. I'm just saying it seems like there's always those certain people that step up. So let's see. As far as old business, what is today's date? I was going to try to end the giveaway on the 15th, but why did I pick the 15th? 14th? Oh, because I used to do the hangouts on Monday nights. So I may if I go to the post office and I only have like 6 or 8 letters, I may extend it, and or I may just go ahead and end it and move on.
I'd really like to see people work for that pack. I just got mine, and that's
how much it costs.
Yeah, I know how much it costs because I
What
pay
people don't
for it.
understand is that, yeah, I pay. I do get a little bit of a discount, but I don't. I'm not a big YouTuber, so I don't get this stuff given to me outright like the big YouTubers
Yeah,
do.
I don't think they gave those bags to anybody. I think that everybody either had to, if they kept it, they had to pay for it. So, yeah, those are expensive bags.
Yeah, and they're nice though. Um, and I will say this: if I am giving something outright, and I have been given things, I always give them away. I don't keep anything that I've been given. That's just sort of a personal rule that I have. So, um,
Yeah, and I will say, to your credit, that's a unfortunately an all too rare quality of many gun enthusiasts on YouTube.
well, and I wasn't saying that to get praise. I was just saying
No.
that
I'm just saying
I
that.
just want people to know that people like GQ who are giving things away, they're purchasing. We're buying things to give away. So we like to see a little bit of effort, put in to
Oh yeah.
get them if they're giveaways.
So that's why I decided this
Yeah.
one was going to be an auction. I was going to kill a few birds with one stone because everybody complains that, well, if we have like a contest, they don't like the person who wins. And, I get a lot of people asking me to buy them. So I'm like, you know what? I'm throwing something out there. If you want to buy one, here's your chance, or you can be quiet. And it'll go to the person with the money instead of some random person that you think shouldn't have gotten in the first place. So.
And I know this sounds like a conflict of interest, but if you don't have any bidders, I'm gonna bid on the thing because honestly, I've been wanting one for my wife's car. So, we'll work something out.
So for those listening, when can they look forward to seeing a picture of that, and where do they need to go look?
You can look at my YouTube channel, GQ Prepper. There's one up right now. I got 2 videos up. I've got one that's a 30-minute long explanation of everything that's in the kit, and I got one that's about 30 seconds for all those of you who have a short attention span and don't like to hear me talk and explain everything. So
that one will get 1 million views.
Yeah. I don't even say any stuff. I don't even say anything in it. I just got a line at the bottom that says stuff and things in a bag. Because I didn't get a lot, but I got quite a few people on some of my other videos like, man, it's not like I'm nothing fancy and going for 2 hours, people. It's just 20 minutes if that, but some people's attention spans are short. So
I just made a note on my summary to put a link to that.
I should have put it up on the site. I will. You can. I don't care.
Description of the video. So.
In fact,
and thank you, GQ, for doing that.
Absolutely, it's going to be ready to go.
So,
I was trying to get a new bag. I was trying to get SOE to provide some nylon gear, but those guys are just way too busy this time of year. I couldn't even get a response from them.
Yeah.
Put a link in the side. Hopefully that's the correct link. That's the 29-minute detailed one.
I do not have my toolbox up.
Okay, well, if that's it, we'll end it here, and I appreciate you guys, and we'll plan on meeting next Saturday night. Hopefully everybody can come.
Sounds good.
And maybe by next week we can just go ahead and if we don't get any feedback at all, I'll try to get something up so we can get some feedback, and we'll have it for next week. And if we don't, we'll just go ahead and I think that's fair. If we ask for feedback and we don't get it, we just go ahead and make decisions and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that bit of leadership will. Maybe people are looking for a little bit of leadership, So we'll give it to them. But thanks, guys. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
All right, Tony. Thank you for the invite.
All right. See you guys.